Hey, my friends, it's Matt. Thanks for hanging out with me on my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to go to St. Augustine, Florida, and we're going to check out the coolest Presbyterian church I've ever seen in my entire life. Maybe the coolest Protestant church I've ever seen. This is a difficult church for me to put my finger on. It's called Memorial Presbyterian Church in St. Augustine, Florida, and no church reminds me of it, but it has elements that remind me of a lot of other beautiful churches that I've seen. It's very unique. It has memorial in the name. So when you walk up, one of the first questions you're asking is, well, memorial of what? What are we remembering here? And in this video, we're going to answer that question. But the other big question that comes up is, why does a Presbyterian church look like this? What does it mean? What are they trying to communicate theologically? Because at least in my experience, I generally associate Presbyterian churches with one of two things, kind of a low church reformed look. That it's still a beautiful church that they build in that circumstance, but it's a lot of times those churches are built to reflect that Protestant Reformation value, that critique of Roman Catholicism, saying, you guys are maybe spending a little too much money on the building and stuff. Maybe we should do simpler worship. You are allowed to like that critique or not resonate with that critique, but that's what the critique was. And so a lot of Presbyterian buildings I have found are a little bit simpler in nature. The ones that are a little bit fancier typically look like large stone kind of castle style buildings, but are still relatively simple on the inside. Well, this Memorial Presbyterian Church in St. Augustine, Florida is neither of those things. It's grandiose, it's amazing, it's spectacular, and it's loaded with imagery and theology. Everything means something. And so I want to go and unpack it and explore it and try to understand it and share the beauty of it with you over the course of the next couple videos. In this video, we're going to do a tour where we focus on the architecture and the history of the place and answering those questions that I was just throwing out with a local historian to St. Augustine who knows the town and knows this church like the back of his hand, a gentleman named Jay. And I feel like I've done an okay job of setting this all up, but then the second we started the video, I knocked over a whole bunch of metal signs, and it's going to be in there. You're just going to have to see it, and then we'll get into it from there. So here we go, off to St. Augustine, Florida, to watch me bumble around and break a beautiful church that I want to show you. So those metal signs you have back there that were standing up, now they are more like this.
Okay, that's fine.
But they're in really good shape.
Okay, they're metal.
If you were to come up with like a metaphor for what would be the super loud noise that would ruin your ability to have a conversation, I think it would be a train crossing or a jackhammer. I saw a trolley go by and then there was a jackhammer. So thank you for letting me close these.
Yes.
That's going to help. Okay, I'm still gawking even after being distracted by a jackhammer. But at the most basic level, what's the quick rundown of the history here? What is this church? Why is it here? How long has it been here, etc.?
This was built in memory of Jenny Louise Benedict, who was Henry Flagler's eldest daughter.
Super wealthy financier railroad type in Florida?
Standard Oil co-founder with J.D. Rockefeller, developer of Florida. Came to St. Augustine first and then started moving the railroad further south. Goes all the way to Miami and then, of course, with the overseas railroad to Key West.
So the money behind this is not local wealth. This is
Standard Oil.
Regional, hemispheric, serious wealth. Mm-hmm. You said it was built for his daughter?
His eldest daughter.
How old was she when she died?
She was 34 years old.
Aye.
She had been married before, remarried to a young man named Frederick Hart Benedict. His father, E.C. Benedict, who was known as the Commodore, when you're eating Eggs Benedict, they're named for him.
Oh.
So it's those Benedicts.
Okay.
But she is expecting the birth of a daughter, and they name her Marjorie. She gives birth to the daughter in February of 1889. She lives overnight, possibly, and then passes away. And then Jenny Louise lingers on. Okay. So E.C. Benedict loans them his yacht and is going to bring her down to St. Augustine, hoping that the warmer climate would revitalize her. So they get as far as Charleston and wire to Flagler that they need him to come and meet them in Charleston. So when he gets to Charleston, he goes by rail. The yacht enters the harbor flying the flag at half-mast, so he knows that his daughter has passed away. There was always the opportunity or the idea that Flagler was going to build a church for the Presbyterians. He was the son of a Presbyterian minister himself. Flagler comes back to St. Augustine now with the idea that he's going to build a memorial. The plans for this building were already done, probably as early as 1889, 86, 89, in that period, right after the hotels had been
Well, that was my next
built.
question. Which came first?
The hotels, definitely.
All right. And one of those hotels is now that main building for the college here.
Yeah, that's
And then
the
you get the
Ponce de
other
Leon
hotel across the street.
So the wealthiest was the Hotel Ponce de Leon. The cheaper version was the Alcazar Hotel across the
That's
street.
the discount knockoff.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And it also housed the amenities for the Hotel Ponce de Leon.
Is there a name for this style?
The Hotel Ponce de Leon, which is now Flagler College, and then the Alcazar Hotel were Spanish Renaissance. So the idea was, if you were to come into St. Augustine, it was like walking into a little Spanish city. Now the church is a different design. It's not Spanish Renaissance. It's called Venetian Renaissance or Venetian Revival. This is the earliest in Florida history that we see a Venetian revival.
So this is the whole thing. There are other spaces I could go and look at that are built to imitate this.
Later in the Florida land boom in the 1920s, we see a Mediterranean revival type style, but it's not the same. If you look on the outside of the church, you'll notice ogies and kind of nods to that Islamic or Venetian style, the Spanish tile, the Byzantine architecture with Roman arches and that sort of thing. It's very, it reminds you of something coming out of Venice.
So there's really no familiar broad strokes architectural style that we can point to that people would know. Like, oh, this is a Romanesque church,
right
this is Gothic, this is Gothic revival. This is
like cherry picking all the elements and putting them in a bag and kind of shaking them up.
Are these four symbols, are they done in mosaic as well?
No, they're actually painted.
They look like mosaic.
They
though.
are. Yeah,
That's
they
on
do.
purpose. So that's to be evocative of that St. Mark's in Venice. Kind of, because my most vivid memory of going there for the first time is just as you walk in, this massive, I mean, it's the first time I was ever close to an Eastern legit mosaic.
Yes. Yeah.
And it sticks with you. And this, I mean, it's a good paint job.
Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
tells a similar story.
Flagler specifically wanted the four evangelists around the dome in some way, shape, or form. So
Which
we
is
do have
unique
that.
for a Protestant church that is an Anglican. You know, your Anglican Episcopalians would have that, but I don't think I've ever seen that in a Presbyterian church before. And it's pronounced.
Yes.
It's kind of the visual centerpiece when you walk right in. That's right where your eyes go. Cross, and then the people who wrote about Jesus.
And with the Byzantine church, your eyes are supposed to draw up. I mean, that's the whole goal, is to connect you in a way to what's happening up there.
I'm obviously gawking at the mosaic. I'm
Yes.
seeing these circles.
Yes.
Like, is it all right if I walk up here for a minute?
Absolutely.
I'm seeing these circles. I don't know if this is some kind of local, I mean, it looks like maybe we have feldspar or something with this kind of pink.
Now, this is called Breccia marble. It is from Italy. It came with the tile.
So all of this is marble.
Yes.
Okay.
There are 12 of these circles. There's one here, one over between the sanctuary and the chapel area, one back where we were, the back door, and then on the south door. So there are 12.
That's a
Again,
number that doesn't come up very much in Christianity or the Old Testament, so I
not
assume
at
it's just
all.
random.
It's completely random.
Great. So next question. No, what do they stand for?
Well, you've got the 3 in the front and in each section, so it's representing the Trinity, and then of course the 12 of the 12 apostles. And included in that number are also the torches at the ends of the pews.
Oh, that are standing up here.
Yeah.
I have a question. I do not mean this question in an accusatory
No.
manner at all, but these look like swastikas.
They are swastikas. So the swastika is the earliest design, comes from like early Persia, and the idea is it looks like a star or a comet. The way that it is depicted here is a symbol of peace, but when you turn a swastika to a 45-degree angle, then it becomes something out of the 1940s.
But this is, I mean, this mosaic floor was put in
1890.
half a century before Hitler and the events of World War II.
So in this case, it's representing peace.
Do people come in and get weirded out by it?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
Every single time you give a tour, does somebody point it out?
If they're paying attention, sometimes they kind of start nodding off after a while, but yeah. There are a couple of things that always throw people, and that's one of them.
What's the other stuff?
We have what people think is a menorah in one of our stained glass windows, which is
Where
actually not a menorah, it's actually a candelabra. But, and then we use the word Catholic in one of our stained glass windows, actually they're in the same window.
Does it have an uppercase C?
Well, it's all in caps.
Oh, you can't tell then. Okay,
Well, come on over.
let's see the candelabra.
Okay. It's the middle window.
Well, it looks like a menorah.
It's a candelabra with the 7 churches of Christianity, so the first 7 churches.
The ones addressed in Revelation?
Yes.
Gotcha. So this is a reference to that language that post-resurrection Christ is using about the lampstands and like them being lit or otherwise at Smyrna and Sardis and Philadelphia, that passage. Yeah, see, my brain would not have gone there, but I will now when I see those kinds of images. And
But
then
it's really fun when the tourists come up and they think they gotcha. And then the other one is when they think they gotcha with the Catholic.
if somebody gets really sassy about that and they're really flexing in front of the group, do you have like a little thing that you've practiced that you say to like put them back in their place, or are you always nice?
Well, we're in the South.
Oh, so you just say bless your heart?
Yeah, so bless your heart carries a lot of weight. You just say, well, let me explain that to you.
You are truly nice. You're truly a patient man.
Well, we're in a church.
I fear at some point I've probably been that turd in the tour group. So on behalf of all of us, thank you for your patience with us thinking we know things when we don't actually know things.
Okay, and a lot of times, you don't really know what the truth is because we don't have a lot of records. So it may be an interpretation of somebody's idea. That's an interesting idea. We don't really know.
Well, what a cool thing about this space, though, that it feels like this is completely solved. Like this is a very explored intellectual terrain. Like it's a building. Of course, we got books and records and stuff on it we know, but what I keep hearing from you is that there's a ton here that you don't know, and there's mystery that's emerged even just over the last 140 years of its existence. And so even as the guy in charge of knowing all the things about the space, you don't know all the things about the space, and I'm assuming that makes it more fun and interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody always loves a good mystery.
So each of these windows are dedicated to the creed then?
Yeah, they chose the Apostles' Creed with the idea that it changes very little between the different denominations. So each of the windows, they're too narrow to do a picture scene. So they took a block of the text from the Apostles' Creed. Above that, you have the medallion, which has a symbol that relates to that text. And then above that is a plant or tree that reflects back to the text as well.
What are the medallions? The Holy Spirit obviously is going to be the dove. And then this chalice is communion cup. And then I still got to look here.
Forgiveness of saints, you have the palm.
I don't understand how the image corresponds. What does that mean?
I assume it's like putting your hand on top of someone's head for forgiveness.
Okay, so just an open hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fern, resurrection.
I suppose anything that is seasonal or plants and dies and grows, I can see it.
Rebirth.
Everlasting is a stag?
It's a heart drinking the water from everlasting life.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Well, they even shaped it like a heart so you could remember it's a heart and not bumblingly call it what I did.
So notice the Flagler Mausoleum is under the resurrection body.
Oh, look at that. I love those kind of touches. That is so smart.
Yep.
It tells the story.
Now this was added after the church was constructed, but when Flagler donated the building to us, he did not give us the land on which the mausoleum sits.
Okay.
So he obviously knew there would be a mausoleum added.
Yeah.
I think the intention was to bring his daughter, the baby that she gave birth to that had died, and his first wife down here. Later, Flagler was buried here, and then intended for his third wife, Mary Lily Keenan, to be buried in the mausoleum as well.
And they're all buried here?
Except for Mary Lily. Mary Lily is buried with her family in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Can we kind of see where if we step in here?
Come on in. So that tomb is empty, but it was intended for Mary Lily Keenan.
And the mirror is present, so we can see the dome.
Yes, because this is as far as guests are able to go.
As it should be.
Yeah. But very different. It's very Roman, very different style from the interior of the sanctuary.
I'm embarrassed. I was trying to figure out whose initials those were. That's Alpha, Omega, and the Chi in the row.
That's okay.
I theoretically went to school for this. I'm listening to you the whole time, and I'm like, well, who would be APW?
Gosh,
it doesn't seem
man, Woolworth, A&P, yeah. As long as nobody's recording it, you'll be okay.
Okay, so anyways, about that recording thing, I don't remember if I remembered early on to introduce Nate here with the camera. It turns out he's carefully recording every stupid thing I've said.
Great.
I told you it was cool, right? And great job, Jay, also for just being able to roll with the punches and have a laugh about things and also really know the building and the history and everything. And thanks to that knowledge, it was easy for us to get right to the bottom of why it's called Memorial Presbyterian Church. And it turns out that in the grand historic tradition of someone with a lot of resources losing someone they really love, well, Henry Flagler wanted to build a church that would carry forward the values of the faith, in which he found hope for what would happen after he lost somebody he loves and after he would one day pass on as well. And he wanted it to be something that would not just be a mausoleum, but that would be active, that would be doing things in the community. And so I think it's really cool that rather than building something that you just observe from a distance and marvel at how much money the guy who made this must have had, instead he built something that people would be in and out of all the time, that people would worship God in, that there would be an emphasis on evangelism and caring for people in need. And that legacy has been carried forward for whatever it is, more than a century. And I think that's a remarkable way to, how do I want to put this? Think forward in terms of what you want your legacy to be and what you want this memorial to accomplish. So in the next video, what I want to do is go and talk with the pastor of this church, a man named Hunter, who is brilliant and knowledgeable about all of this stuff as well. And I want to pick his brain about what it's like to pastor a church that has memorial in the name and that has all of this history behind it and actually have it be effective and do what a church is supposed to do. And I also want to pick his brain about how Presbyterian theology fits into all of that a little bit more. I want to say thanks again to Jay for showing us around. I want to say thanks again to Memorial Presbyterian for giving us access. I want to say thanks again to you for thinking outside of your own context, maybe even your own convictions, to go and learn more about other people's understanding of the world, understanding of God, and to want to learn more about why they would build these beautiful things that they build. And I just love that we get to hang out with people who are different from ourselves and have these kind of conversations together. So you're awesome. Thanks also to everybody who supports the channel at patreon.com/TMBH. Obviously, it takes travel to go and do things like this, and the whole reason this happens is because people support the channel. So thank you to all of you as well. All right, more from Memorial Presbyterian in St. Augustine, Florida next time around.